Book Dragons, it's Alyssa and you're watching Pages in Ink. Today I am going to do the Bagel Book Tag. I was tagged by Reads with Kesara. It's my first time ever being tagged in a video, so that's pretty cool. So I am going to discuss bagels and books today. I will put a link in the description box down below to Reads with Kesara's page, and then also I will try to track down the original tagger and put a link to their video down below as well. The first question in this bagel book tag is the plain bagel, a writer you feel does a great job with the same kind of work. I was a little torn between one of my favorite historic authors and a different author. I went with this one because I have more of his books and I'm a little bit obsessed with all of his books, and that is Rick Riordan. He does such a good job of making mythology relevant. I know that there's a lot of people, myself included, that love studying mythology, but it's just kind of like history. Some people love it and some people hate it and find it boring, and I think that he does such a good job with making it exciting again for generations of other people to enjoy. Number 2 is the Everything Bagel, a writer in which you own all of their work. I have to go with my favorite childhood author, and that is Gail Carson Levine. I own all of her books. They're actually right here on the shelf behind me. I own multiple copies of some of the books because I love them so much. Number 3, the Sesame Bagel, your favorite Sesame Street or Muppets book. I've never read a Sesame Street or Muppets book. I'm assuming they're thinking like board books for like little kids, like little toddlers. I don't know. My favorite Muppets movie is A Muppet Christmas Carol. That was my all-time favorite growing up. I still watch it at Christmas time every year. There's just something so special about it, and I always sing that After All There's Only One More Sleep Till Christmas song on Christmas Eve because I'm a dork. Salt, a good book you had to put down in order to catch yourself. So several books came to mind because I get really emotional when I read, but one that I think wrecked me the most and has always wrecked me and continues to wreck me every time I read it. My cat is running like a crazy person. She's literally doing gymnastics right now. So if you hear her thumping, that's Ruby in the background. Anyway, my choice that I had to go with was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. One of my absolute favorite characters of all time, Sirius Black, has an unfortunate event in this book. I'm saying it this way in case you haven't read Harry Potter, and if you haven't read Harry Potter, what are you doing with your life? By the way, what's a salt bagel? Garlic bagel, a genre you cannot get enough of. So I'm allergic to garlic, so that's terrible that is the genre that I can't get enough of. Fantasy novels are my all-time favorite, and historic novels. The onion bagel, also allergic to onions, so would never eat it. A book that may cause you to get stares, but you enjoy anyway. I don't get a lot of stares when I read, but I'd have to say like the ones that I'm like most embarrassed to like pull out of its book sleeve and get into would have to be the middle grade read, since I'm a freaking adult reading a middle grade novel. The French Toast Bagel, a writer you are happy to have discovered this past year. I've discovered a lot of authors this last year. I think I've said in other videos that I'm a chronic rereader and I have a hard time breaking out of that habit. I was also in kind of a reading slump for the last couple years, so I was basically rereading the same 20 books. So there's a lot of new authors that I've discovered this last year. So I just randomly picked one, and that is Holly Black. She wrote The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King, which just came out. I loved and hated her writing style, so I have to read more of her stuff to see if I'm like a true diehard fan. So number 10 is The Egg Bagel, a work of nonfiction that caused you to form or switch a position. I actually read a lot of nonfiction, mostly historic nonfiction, and I had to read this book. Oh, what was that? And I had to read this book for school, and that is A Different Mirror, A History of Multicultural America is by Ronald Takaki. I read a lot about American history, and I know how ugly and awful and every terrible adjective you can think of throughout our history, and genocides, and just how awful it was in America and still is. This book didn't change a position for me. It just reopened my eyes to even more atrocities that happened in America, and even more to the point, the absolute corruption in American politics from the very beginning. Oh, I skipped one. So number 8 is the Cinnamon Raisin Bagel, a sweet but thought-provoking work. So I don't read a lot of sweet books, but this one kind of threw me for a loop, and that is Disenchanted, The Trials of Cinderella, and it's by Megan Morrison. It's a part of a retelling series. So this book was really sweet because it was a Cinderella retelling, but Cinderella in this book, it was definitely inspired by the garment workers' issues in the early 1900s and the striking for better treatment, wages, and hours. She is very passionate about the garment workers in her country and kind of leads the charge to change the way that they're treated. And you know that there's a scene in this book that is inspired by the fire in the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory of the early 1900s, where I think it was over 100 women were killed. And I love that Megan Morris combined social issues with a fairy tale retelling, and it was found in the children's section, so I think that's awesome as well. Number 11 is The Rainbow Bagel, an LGBTQIAP+ work that made you think. Nothing was more eye-opening or touching or thought-provoking as Rapture Practice by Aaron Hartzler. It's about a boy who grows up gay in an evangelical family and his struggle with his identity and his relationship to his family and their spiritual beliefs and the journey that he went through discovering who he really is. I think this book does a really good job of speaking to young adults and teenagers about their identity and navigating their religious beliefs and their family's beliefs. Number 12 is the Bialy Bagel, a fairy tale you feel people need to read in its original form. Don't read any fairy tales in their original form. They'll ruin your childhood. Having said that, I do have to say that my favorite original fairy tale is The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. It was my favorite Disney movie growing up, so when I realized as a kid that it was originally a story, I read it and it wrecked me a little bit and kind of ruined my childhood slightly. So, and then number 13, what is your favorite kind of bagel as well as your favorite bagel condiment? I don't eat bagels. And number 14 is the bagel tray. Who do you tag? I tag anyone who wants to do this video. I think it was fun. It's very different and unique to a lot of the tags out there. So do it. Have fun. It's booktube. It's books. We're all nerds here. It's fun. So that's it for the tag. Again, I will put links in the description box below to Reads with Kesara's page, and then also if I can track down the original, I'll put a link down below. And until next time, remember to be nice to yourself and be kind to others. Bye!